On a warm September night in 1965, a quiet New Hampshire road became the center of one of the most enduring police UFO cases in America. Before the night was over, two young men would claim they saw something low, bright and impossible over Exeter. What makes Exeter linger is not just the light in the sky, but who reported it. A teenage witness, then local police, then a chain of official attention that gave the sighting unusual weight. In a small town, that kind of report travels fast. Exeter sits in southeastern New Hampshire, where open fields, country roads, and low horizons make the night sky feel close. In a place like that, a strange object cannot easily hide behind city glare or traffic noise. The setting matters because the case unfolded in a landscape where witnesses could judge distance, motion, and size with unusual clarity. That is part of why the report never felt like a vague light in the dark. At the center of the story was 19-year-old Norman Muscarello, hitchhiking home when he saw a brilliant red light moving near the road. He later said it did not behave like an aircraft he knew. He ran toward the nearest house, shaken enough to wake the people inside and ask for help. That urgency is part of the case's power, because the first reaction was not curiosity, but alarm. Soon after, Exeter police officer Eugene Bertrand arrived and saw the same light for himself. His account turned a roadside scare into a police matter, and that changed everything. Bertrand described a large object with red lights that seemed to move with sudden, unsettling control. It reportedly crossed the sky in a way that left him convinced he was not looking at an ordinary plane. The detail that keeps returning is motion. The object was not just seen, it was tracked as it shifted, paused, and changed direction. That kind of behavior is what made the report feel alive rather than distant. Another detail is the silence. Witnesses did not describe a roaring engine or the steady sound of a conventional aircraft, only the visual shock of something bright and close moving overhead. A third detail is scale. The object was reported as large enough to dominate the sky at low altitude, yet distant enough to keep its shape uncertain, a combination that makes eyewitness judgment especially difficult and especially intriguing. As the report spread, more officers and local residents became part of the account, each adding their own angle on the same strange night. The case began to look less like a single mistaken glance and more like a shared experience. Investigators later noted that the witnesses were not describing a neat, polished memory. Their statements carried the rough edges of real confusion, which is often exactly what makes a case feel honest. That honesty did not solve the mystery, though, because the object's behavior remained hard to fit into a simple category. A plane should have navigation patterns, a helicopter should have sound, and a star should not seem to move at all. Supporters of the extraordinary interpretation point to the police involvement, the consistency of the core sighting, and the way the object reportedly reacted to attention. In their view, the night in Exeter feels like contact with something beyond routine explanation. Skeptics question whether distance, darkness, and adrenaline could have stretched an unusual but terrestrial sight into something larger. In the 1960s, aircraft lights, atmospheric effects, and memory under stress were all plausible parts of the picture. Even so, the Exeter report never settled into a tidy explanation, because the strongest accounts came from people who were already on the scene and looking carefully. That is why the case continues to sit in the uneasy space between error and encounter. What remains unresolved is the exact shape of what was seen, the true distance, and how many separate observations belong to one event. Those missing pieces leave the night open, almost suspended in the historical record. There is also the question of why this case endured when so many others faded. Exeter had a police report, named witnesses, and a sequence of events that still invites careful rereading decades later. For many researchers, that combination is the heart of the mystery. A small-town road, a frightened witness, a police officer's confirmation, and a light that did not seem to obey familiar rules. Taken together, they still resist easy dismissal. The most grounded reading may be that several ordinary factors overlapped in an unusual way, creating a powerful and sincere misidentification. Yet the most compelling reading is that something genuinely unclassified crossed that New Hampshire sky. And that is why the Exeter incident still matters. It asks whether the night revealed a mistake, a rare atmospheric event, or a brief encounter with something that was never meant to be seen so clearly. More than half a century later, the road is quiet again, but the question remains alive in the record. What exactly did those witnesses see over Exeter that September night? The case endures because the ordinary answers never quite erase the feeling that something was there, moving just beyond easy explanation. Exeter still leaves us looking up, wondering what passed overhead and why it was remembered so clearly. In the end, the Exeter incident remains a rare meeting point of police testimony, civilian fear, and a sky that seemed to behave with intent. Whether that intent was human, natural, or something stranger is still unresolved. That unresolved quality is what keeps the story alive. The object may have vanished, but the night it created has never fully left Exeter. For investigators and believers alike, the case offers a simple but stubborn challenge. If the witnesses were wrong, why did the wrongness look so consistent, so immediate, and so hard to shake? And if they were right, then Exeter was not just a strange local story, but a brief and unsettling glimpse into a larger mystery still waiting for its language. That possibility is why the night continues to echo. The record gives us enough to feel the shock, but not enough to close the file. So the question hangs there, over the dark road and the quiet town. What really crossed the Exeter sky? Some cases become famous because they are loud. Exeter became famous because it was clear, close, and strangely credible. That is a different kind of haunting, one that comes from evidence that almost, but not quite, explains itself. Even now, the best answer may be to hold both possibilities at once, a misread sky and a genuine anomaly. The tension between those two readings is exactly where the mystery still lives. That is the enduring power of the Exeter incident. It does not demand belief, but it refuses to disappear. And in that refusal, it leaves the night of September 1965 still unfinished.